4월 달의 마지막 날입니다. 야, 금방 4월이 또 지나가고 있습니다. 4시, 아침 4시 8분이 지나고 있습니다. 이 시간은 제가 어제 뉴욕타임즈를 좀 구분해서 좀 읽고 오자 합니다. 비즈니스란부터 구분해서 좀 입력을 하겠습니다. 비즈니스란. Monday, April 29th, 2024, Business, New York Times, International Edition. Inflation is creating money illusion. Strategies. With prices this high, no one knows what a dollar is actually worth. Rising prices have made people grumpy. They have depressed consumer confidence despite a growing economy and high unemployment. But exactly how inflation is helping and confusing people is hard to understand. Everyone knows that the cost of living has increased, yet unless you are constantly pulling out a calculator, you are unlikely to know whether your wages are keeping up with inflation, whether the stock market has actually hit a real peak, or whether a lottery jackpot is as sweet as marketers claim. There's a fancy name for the common human failure to see past the gaudy prices largely created by inflation. This widespread inability to recognize what money is really worth is known as money illusion. Irving Fisher, a Yale economist, wrote a book about it nearly a century ago. John Maynard Keynes, the British economist, popularized the idea. Behavioral economists have studied it extensively, but their insight tended to be forgotten when prices are fairly stable, as they were in the United States until 3 years ago. When inflation increases annually at 2% or so, who really care about it? You can function well without thinking about the slowly eroding value of your money. But now that we've been living with high inflation for a while, everyone is prone to money illusion to one extent or another. Consider that the March 2021 dollar is worth less than 85 cents today, according to the government's Consumer Inflation Index calculator. When I keep that number in my head, the dollars in my bank's account looks especially unimpressive. Stocks and the lottery. Certain aspect of inflation's toll on the markets are extensively chronicled, yet I think the profound effects of inflation on stocks and bonds are still widely underestimated. First, a few things about inflation's cost are clear. Because the Federal Reserve has been fighting inflation, short-term rates are high, and several consecutive months of bad inflation readings have made it unlikely that the Fed will cut rates soon. In the bond market, which respond to the Fed's signals and to traders' judgments about inflation and economic growth, yields have surged. As a result of all this, a range of consumer credit rates steepened. These include mortgages, credit cards, and personal loans. In addition, the dawning realization this month that the Fed is in no rush to lower interest rate stalled the stock market. I wrote about a less well-known aspect of inflation recently, the frequent exuberant references to new peaks in the S&P 500 during the recent bull rally didn't take rising consumer prices into account. Unhappy workers, unhappy workers. The old refrain, that the rent is too damn high is resonating now. Steep housing costs are embedded in government indexes and account for a substantial part of recent official inflation increase. Wages are another nagging problem. Numerous surveys show that many working people believe their wages haven't kept up with the cost of living. Whether they actually have kept up is debatable. The official data on average wages is volatile and difficult to interpret. Say inflation is rising at a 4% annual rate and you get a 2% raise. You've just received a real wage cut. If there's no inflation and your wage is cut by 1%, you've also gotten a wage cut, but you've lost less money than in the case of high inflation. What's odd is that workers tend to view the bigger real wage cut as fairer. This makes sense. The authors say when you factor in money illusion, where we are now. At the moment, consumer sentiment surveys are skewing lower than they have in periods that were similar in economic growth and unemployment. In the 3 years through March, prices rose 17%, according to this mode, and crucially, assuming the rate of inflation drops immediately to the Fed's forecast of 2.5% annually, there would be an 8 percentage point increase in consumer sentiment by November. There happens to be a national election then. But inflation has defied economist prediction efforts over the past few years. I make no assumptions. Certainly, I hope inflation will fall and it will be safe to live an ordinary life without thinking about money illusion. But it will take a long while for me to unsee the shrinking dollar. 이제 많은 기사가 그에 대해서 나오네. 자, 비닐스란의 다른 기사입니다. 또. In AI race, tech plans a big upgrade. Industry giants have spent more than $32 billion combined in first quarter. In 2023 was the tech industry's year of the AI chatbot. 2024 is turning out to be the year of AI plumbing. It may not sound as exciting, but tens of billions of dollars are quickly being spent on behind-the-scenes technology for the industry's AI boom. Companies from Amazon to Meta are revamping their data centers to support artificial intelligence. They are investing in huge new facilities, while even places like Saudi Arabia are racing to build the supercomputers to handle AI. Nearly everyone with a foot in tech or giant piles of money, it seems, is jumping into a spending frenzy that some believe could last for years. Microsoft, the Meta, and Google's parent company, Alphabet, disclosed last week that they had spent more than $32 billion combined on data centers and other capital expenses in the first 3 months of the year. Our optimism and the ambition have just grown quite a bit. Google said sales from its cloud division were up 28%, including an increasing contribution from AI. Infrastructure demands generally fall into two buckets. First, there is building the largest cutting-edge models, and then there is influencing or coding the models to actually use them. 비즈니스란에 영화가 출연했습니다. Briefly Traced, Hollywood is bringing back sex scenes. Los Angeles. Eroticism seemed to go out of fashion for a while in mainstream movies. Zendaya, clad in a skin-tight dress, gyrated on a dance floor in Challengers, a $56 million sports drama that arrived in multiplex on Friday. It's getting hot in here. The hip-hop soundtrack intones as she closes her eyes and runs her hands through her hair, lost in fantasy. so take off all your clothes. The story continues at a motel where Zendaya, playing a tennis prodigy, begins a menage a trois with two guys. It fizzles after they become more interested in each other. The plot moves on to sultry interplay on the hood of a car, in a dorm room, in the backseat of a car, on the wooden slats of a sauna. There is erotic churro eating. Sex is back, shouted an apparently elated man at the conclusion of a pre-release Challengers screening in West Hollywood, California this month. Trend spotting. Trend spotting in cinema is a hazardous pursuit. Think about how many times the rom-com has been declared dead and alive and dead. No, wait alive. But this much can be said with surety. Hollywood is hornier than it has been in years. In the 2000s, film companies started to obsessively focus on PG-13 franchises and animation.